State of Decay 2 is an open-world zombie survival game that challenges players to lead a community of survivors in a brutal post-apocalyptic landscape. Developed by Undead Labs, the game emphasizes resource management, base building, and the tough decisions required to keep your group alive. Each survivor brings unique skills and personalities, and their fates rest in your hands, with the ever-present risk of permadeath adding weight to every encounter. Players can explore expansive maps teeming with hazards, fortify bases to fend off relentless zombie hordes, and tackle the game solo or with up to 3 friends in multiplayer mode. With its blend of strategy, action, and community-driven storytelling, State of Decay 2 delivers an intense and immersive survival experience. Welcome to Midnight Launch. I'm JD, and today we're going to take a look at the game's State of Decay 2 from the perspective of a consumer. Let's get started. Gameplay. The gameplay in State of Decay 2 is intuitive and accessible, with easy-to-understand controls that make managing your community and engaging in combat straightforward. However, driving can be a little tricky, particularly when navigating tight spaces or rough terrain, adding a layer of challenge to exploration. The skill system is user-friendly, allowing players to develop survivors' abilities without much complexity. Base management, while a key feature, is hampered by a clunky UI where the back button exits the interface entirely instead of returning to the base overview, which can disrupt the flow of editing utilities. The game's maps are impressively large. They encourage exploration and are filled with resources, threats, and opportunities to expand your influence. On the downside, NPC movement could use improvement, as followers who often play a pivotal role in some missions sometimes struggle to keep pace or act effectively in critical moments. Despite these quirks, State of Decay 2 offers a deep and engaging survival experience, making it an 8 out of 10 for gameplay. Replayability. Replayability in State of Decay 2 is one of its strongest aspects. Driven by the game's permadeath mechanic and dynamic sandbox elements, if your community succumbs to the challenges of the apocalypse, the loss is permanent, and you'll need to start over with a new group of survivors, creating fresh opportunities for storytelling and strategy. The variety of maps available ensures that each playthrough feels distinct, as different terrains, resource locations, and threats keep you adapting. Experimenting with various base layouts and management strategies adds another layer of depth, encouraging players to refine their approach with each new attempt. Whether you're perfecting your community or exploring the untamed environments, State of Decay 2 offers a gameplay loop that remains engaging across multiple playthroughs. For that, we're going to give it a 7 out of 10 for replayability. Story. The story in State of Decay 2 is straightforward. Survive. While there are characters scattered across the world who offer quests to progress the overarching narrative, much of the game's depth comes from the choices you make and their impact on your community's relationship with other survivor groups. Side missions play a significant role, shaping alliances, rivalries, and your community's standing in a dangerous, unpredictable world. Unlike traditional story-driven games, State of Decay 2 doesn't rely heavily on a structured narrative. Instead, it thrives on emergent storytelling driven by the player's will to endure and the unique events that unfold during the fight for survival. Every decision, loss, and triumph becomes part of a personal story that keeps players invested. For that, we're going to give State of Decay 2 a 5 out of 10 for the story. Fun with friends. The multiplayer capabilities of State of Decay 2 allow up to 4 players to team up and face the zombie apocalypse together, creating a cooperative survival experience. While the group size isn't the largest, it fosters a sense of teamwork and intimacy as players work together to gather resources, fortify their base, and tackle the dangers of the open world. Dividing tasks, sharing resources, and strategizing to overcome challenges makes the gameplay even more engaging, while the unpredictable nature of the world ensures memorable moments and plenty of laughs. Whether it's coordinating a daring supply run or fending off a horde together, surviving the apocalypse as a team adds a layer of excitement and camaraderie that elevates the game's appeal. Because of this, we're going to give State of Decay 2 a 7 out of 10 for fun with friends. Technical specifications. The minimum tech specs for State of Decay 2 are relatively accessible, especially considering the game's scope and release date. Requiring a 64-bit system, the game runs on Windows 10, which is standard for modern PCs. The processor requirements, which are Intel i5-2500 or AMD FX 6300, are modest and should be compatible with many mid-tier systems. The memory requirement of 8GB of RAM is reasonable for most gaming setups, though older or lower-end PCs might struggle. For graphics, the NVIDIA GTX 760 or AMD Radeon HG 7870 are older cards, making them accessible to players with slightly dated hardware, though they may need lower visual settings for optimal performance. DirectX 11 compatibility and 30GB of storage are standard asks for contemporary games. Overall, the game is well optimized for a broad audience, providing the hardware meets these moderate requirements. So for that, State of Decay 2 gets a 9 out of 10 for tech specs. Value for money. State of Decay 2's $30 price tag offers pretty decent value for players, especially for those who enjoy open-world survival games. While it took me a while to finish the story, some sources estimate it takes around 16 hours to complete the main storyline alone, which actually doesn't justify that cost. However, the game's true value lies in its breadth of content beyond the main quest, with numerous side missions, resource gathering challenges, and opportunities to build and manage your community. There's plenty to keep players engaged. Whether focusing on survival strategies, exploring the expansive maps, or improving your base, the game provides hours of entertainment for players who enjoy getting the most out of their games. So, if you're in it just for the story and don't want to spend time on fetch quests and community building, the game definitely is not worth it. But overall, we're going to give State of Decay 2 a 7 out of 10 for value. Our consensus. This game is still worth buying, but I'd say as long as it's on sale. From an overall viewpoint, the content that expands past the story, like the side quests, is vast enough that players can definitely get their money's worth from it. However, a lot of it feels quite repetitive and it could start to get boring. The game is highly replayable, and you can play it with friends, but the amount of time that it takes to finish the story doesn't quite equate to the $30 price tag. Anyway, thanks for watching this episode of Midnight Launch. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to give it a like, and if you want to see more content like this, feel free to subscribe. If you have any games that you want us to try out, drop it in the comment section, or if you have any categories that you want us to rate on, put that in the comment section as well. Thanks for watching. See you next time.